I'm really excited about our next guest, Madison, because he has one of the same obsessions I have. The importance of telling stories. Trucking Ray Lampkins joins us. Guys, you can find him at that delivered show on the Tube of You. You can find him on the link that is in on That's Delivered podcast. That's dash S dash delivered dash podcast. It's our pleasure to welcome him. Good morning to you, Trucking Ray. Welcome to your first appearance on Nemo Nation. Hopefully, it won't be the last. How are you?
No, man, that's awesome. Thanks for the intro. I really appreciate it. And a big shout out to you guys at Radio Nemo. Man, you guys are doing big things. I really appreciate the switch that you guys are doing and trying to get people involved and also spreading the message about trucking, man. I think you guys are doing an awesome, amazing job.
Thank you so much, my friend. And by the way, that's one of your great passions. Before we get to the That's Delivered podcast, and like I said, you and I have a similar obsession with, I think if you can't tell the story, then you are losing a lot of opportunities to both get your own brand out there, but also to remind people what it is that trucking does. But let's talk about Three Axle Coffee for a second. I want to talk about what it is. Tell us about it. I think a lot of our friends would love to hear this.
Oh, man, yeah. Three Axle Coffee. It was built by drivers, for drivers. It's real simple. I love coffee. It's always been a part of my life. It seems to be a great combo, trucking and coffee. It helps bring people together. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had a product that people can enjoy, not only, while they're telling stories, they can also enjoy a cup of coffee together. I think it's a good people, a crowd pleaser.
Well, it's funny, too. I don't know if you know this, but when you come down here to New Orleans, and you should come down here and join us in the studio at some point, and Madison will back me up here, there are 5 coffee shops within walking distance of this studio. One is run by some crazy Italians. One is run by some beatnik hippies up the way. Go ahead, Madison.
I was also a barista
A
all
good one.
throughout college, up until very recently when I got this pretty cool gig. So I also love coffee and know about all things coffee. I worked in a couple specialty shops and I got my certificate as like a level 2 barista with the guild, the Baristas Guild or whatever.
And remind me, by the way, to send you both pictures of my friend Kyle, who is a a champion winner coffee barista, by the way, does consulting for that. Okay, that's enough coffee. We can talk coffee all morning with our friend, but we're going to talk trucking here. Tell people, by the way, and it's really fun, tell people about the That's Delivered podcast, where they can find it. I've already given some details there, but what you guys kind of dig into, what you talk about. Like I said, guys, this is really groovy stuff.
Awesome. Hey, thank you. That's Delivered podcast got started by, telling stories. During the COVID era, I listened to people tell their stories. There was a lot of, stuff going on. I listened to the radio, and I just loved hearing their stories. And it also helped inspire me to get through the day. And I said, well, we got to keep that going. We can't stop. I want to hear more. I said, what about these people that are out here delivering all of the goods? And you see the effort that's being done. You're sitting at home worried about COVID, and then you go make your delivery, and an older lady opens the door, and you think, man, she should be home. But she's working, receiving inventory at Walgreens. And I was like, man, it was so cool to know about everything that goes on and logistics and how things move about. So the storytelling and trucking helped inspire me to start a podcast and hear about the things that people do, and also educate many people on, hey, this is how you get your goods. This is how you get things from A to B. This is all the things that go on behind the scenes. And I just kept being inspired, and the show kept going on, and people kept coming on as guests, and I'm thankful to have it keep going as it is today.
I'm not going to ask you the painful question, which is, please tell me your favorite story that you've heard, because, man, it's like your children. They're all wonderful. Can you kind of give one or two examples to our listeners of the kind of stories that they will hear if they tune in to That's Delivered?
Oh, yeah. So I always love my latest episode that gets released. Jenny Burton, she's a great woman. She went from, being an addict to now she's a scholar. And she's doing a lot of great things for advocating for better incarceration to, help people turn their lives around. She came on the show. I think about a lot of truckers out there and they and they're disquieting thoughts, and they think about things while they're riding out there all alone. How can they stay encouraged? How can they help individuals? Um, that J.D. Burton does that when she talks about all the things that goes on when we have decisions, and maybe we're dealing with some really dark things. Well, she touched base on it because she's walked that walk. I think one of the things she says is you can't really speak on it and help people, especially if you've been through hell. You know, she knows the way out, and she can help people. So that's even one that doesn't really touch bases with trucking, but she was willing to come on the show to help encourage truckers, keep their heads up out there. It's not that trucking is so dark and gloomy, but everybody needs a little picker upper every now and then. And so I love that episode too, and many more. I mean, there's so many guests that came on, like John Rojas this month. He did a great job talking about the tool that they came up with. It's a online training course, over 1,000 English and Spanish terms related to trucking industry. El Gacero is a tool you can find on Bumper to Bumper Easy CDL. So yeah, I have that on there as well.
Yeah, guys, this give you a sense of what actually kind of percolates over there. Notice I did the little coffee reference there, Madison. I'm very proud of myself. But he'll talk with the Teamster Jesse Harron and the impact of technology. He will talk to Tony Justice, who many of you guys know. John Rojas, as many of you guys know, is also a friend of this show. And I've done a lot of work over there with the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools. So what you're getting here is a real perspective of that stuff. And I was kind of curious as you're putting this together. And as a programmer myself, my wife and I, we work very, very hard to kind of make sure that these, along with Tara Garris, we make sure that these segments and slots are filled. How do you go about programming? How do you go about picking? Because there are a number of articulate drivers who listen to this show. Our friend Marshall Platter, our friend Jerry Bowers, a number of the road team captains. How do you go about picking the men and women that you talk to? I mean, what is your process? Or is it just basically getting recommendations and references and building that list?
That's it. That's exactly what you mentioned at the end. My producer is also my wife. She does a great job of creating the program, creating the show, and then I implement it by making sure I get those appointments. Because I'm also a truck driver by day and podcast by night, so I got to make sure I can get to these appointments and set the schedules and get it all put together. So yeah, it's fun. I also work with my co-host Matty G. He keeps it lively. We do an episode where we just kind of talk about what's going on in the world, and people can hear the perspective of two people trying to figure out these things that are happening, these accidents, these horrific things that people are seeing online. Just kind of getting a perspective from another truck driver. We just have fun with it and keep it lively and not make it where it feels like work, kind of like what you guys are doing.
How long have you been driving a truck, by the way, in regards to, and like I said, I don't just mean professionally, but everybody, like I said, Dave and I talk about this all the time, and a lot of our listeners know that Dave and I have a theory called the farm system, that for the longest time, the trucking industry benefited from free training. It didn't have to train anybody because if the Teamsters didn't take care of it, the farmer that raised the truck driver took care of it. And if the farmer didn't take care of it, the guy who was in charge of the motor pool took care of it. So trucking benefited for a long time either from the military, the farm boy, or the Teamster. As all three of those things have gotten smaller, as there are less farmers today than there were yesterday, the military is now all volunteer. And of course, the Teamsters don't have the numbers they had in the 50s and 60s. How did you get into this? What is your introductory point?
Well, I needed to do something to provide for my family, something stable. Right now, I'm over 10 years driving, and my daughter, she needed health care, and being a union job, it provided one of the best health care out there for my family. She suffers from an autoimmune disease, so this job helped keeps my family together. And being a union Teamster, they've done a lot for me. That stability. So I love being able to give back by telling the stories about the Teamsters and having Teamsters come on the show, talk about it, because sometimes it gets a bad rap. People think that we're greedy or we're taking too much, but in reality, we're keeping the standard, trying to raise the bar, keep it up there, so that other people can benefit from it. When we make money, everybody else makes money. So they're helping my family, and they're helping others' family. So I love it.
Yeah, and by the way, like I said, a lot of that comes through in the podcast. A lot of that comes through in the discussion. And you're a big listener. I'm gonna actually give you credit for something because, as you can tell, anybody that knows me knows, as you can tell now, I like to shoot the shinola. I like to, really mix it up. But you really kind of give your guests space to kind of really get a chance to talk. And you're a listener, which, by the way, is a great gift in regards to interviewing. You really like to kind of open up the guest and kind of let them then kind of explain who they are and where they are. And it just comes from, where does that love of hearing stories come from? Was that something that came to you late, or even as a little boy were you kind of drawn in by that?
Yeah, I did. I love listening to my mom talk about her stories. I love listening to my grandma. I mean, everybody's got a story, and you can learn something from them. So I was curious. I would hear what they're going through, and it's a great time to empathize and hear people's concerns and know that they're important. I think that's a gift that we can give people, and just by taking that time to listen, I think it's huge. And I love the show. I love radio. I was a big radio person back in the day too. We didn't have the big TVs like they have today. These kids and they got their phones where they can just pick stuff up. We had a radio, and I would listen to it. It was a big deal. I'd go to Revco or somewhere like that and get a radio and have it in your room. So radio's always been a part of my life. I love the sound. I love the quality of the mics, all of that. Man, it's just a privilege to also be able to have a podcast these days. The way they've made it work so that your regular guy can have a podcast. I'm a strong advocate for people to have a podcast. So, yeah, if you can do it and you can get it started up, go for it.
By the way, if you can't tell, Dave and I and Lindsay, we all are big fans of podcasts. 'Cause I tell people all the time, somebody said, aren't you worried about too many people being in the marketplace? And I said, no. I said, because people can now download, figure out what they like, and listen to it anytime they want to. The real big thing, and Ray, back me up here, is everybody's got a podcast, and most of them only have about 5 to 6 episodes. That ain't the case with you, my friend. You've kept it going. People don't realize it here. Oh my God, there's a gazillion podcasts. I'm like, yeah, go check out what happens at around episode 7 when the wheels come off and they've got to do it every week or every other week. You've kept the fire alive, my friend. You're welcome back anytime. Trucking Ray Lampkins has joined us. Here's the problem. You work in the long form. We work in the hyper short form. I want you guys to go to @ThatDeliveredShow on the tube of you at YouTube. You can find it. A lot of people you know already, Tony Justice, John Rojas, both of whom are great guys. It's great to have you on, man. It's great to finally meet you.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show and be able to share my story. I think a lot of people also in the industry are not familiar with who I am, so it's nice to be able to share a little bit of my story as well. Thank you.
You're welcome back anytime, by the way. And don't forget, 3 Axle Coffee is built by a driver for drivers. Thank you, Ray. Truckin' Ray, everybody.